You ever stop and think about how when you type a website name into your browser, it just works? It feels like magic, right? Well, behind that simple act is this incredible hidden system that's basically the internet's secret address book. So today, let's pull back the curtain and see exactly how that magic happens. See, the thing is, while we use easy to remember names for websites, computers see the internet in a totally different way. They talk to each other using these long strings of numbers called IP addresses. I mean, can you imagine having to remember a number like 192.168.1.1 for every single site you visit? No way, it'd be impossible. And that's the big problem we need to solve. So, how does that translation happen? How does your browser take a simple name that you can actually remember and find the exact numerical address it needs to connect? Well, that's the big question, and the answer is this brilliant system called DNS. DNS stands for Domain Name System, and really the absolute best way to think about it is as the phone book for the entire internet. Its whole job, its one crucial mission, is to look up the name you give it and find the matching number. That's it. That's what connects you to the right server wherever it is in the world. Or, hey, here's a more modern way to think about it. It's just like the Contacts app on your phone. You don't memorize your mom's phone number, right? You just tap her name, and your phone does all the hard work of dialing the right digits. DNS does that exact same thing, but for everything on the internet. All right, so when you make a request, it goes on this ridiculously fast journey to find the right number. So let's actually follow that request and see all the little stops it makes along the way, from your computer, out into the web, and all the way back. Your request makes 4 main stops on this journey. First, it talks to a helpful concierge called the recursive resolver. Then it asks for directions from the main index, which is the root server. After that, it gets pointed to the right aisle by the TLD server, and finally, it gets the answer from the authoritative server. And here's the craziest part. This whole trip happens in milliseconds. It's almost instant. So the journey kicks off the second you hit enter. Your computer shoots the question over to something called a DNS resolver, which you usually get from your internet provider. Think of this resolver as your personal, helpful concierge. It doesn't know the answer itself, but its job is to go out and find it for you no matter what. The resolver's first stop is a root server, and this server is like the main index in a ginormous library. It doesn't know where the specific book is, but it knows which section to look in. It sees you're looking for a .com address and basically says, okay, head that way. Following those directions, the resolver gets to the top-level domain server, or TLD server. So if the root server pointed it to the right section, the TLD server is kind of like the manager of that specific aisle. In our case, the .com aisle. It knows exactly which server has the info for the website you're trying to reach. And finally, the TLD server points to the authoritative server. This is it. This server is the ultimate source of truth. It's the one that has the actual record, the final IP address. It gives that number back to your resolver, the resolver gives it to your browser, and boom, your page starts loading. Okay, so we've seen how it all works, which is pretty cool. But let's talk for a minute about why the system is so important for just using the internet every day. It's not just about finding websites. It's really about making the whole online experience faster, safer, and just simpler. So here's something you've definitely noticed. The very first time you visit a new website, it might take an extra second to load, but every time you go back after that, it feels instant. Why is that? Well, the answer is a pretty clever shortcut. It's called DNS caching. Basically, both your computer and that DNS resolver have a short-term memory. Once they finish that whole 4-step journey, they hang on to the answer for a little while. So the next time you ask for the same website, they don't have to go on that big trip again. They just grab the answer from their memory, or cache, which makes everything way, way faster. And you know, DNS does a lot more than just find websites. It's kind of like a Swiss Army knife for a domain, managing all sorts of information. For example, an A record points to a website, sure, but an MX record makes sure your emails go to the right inbox, and a CNAME can create a handy little nickname for another domain. But with all this information flying around, you gotta wonder, is this system secure? Well, by default, DNS requests aren't encrypted, and that can open the door to nasty stuff like DNS spoofing, where a hacker could send you to a fake website. The good news is there are technologies like DNSSEC that add a layer of security. It works like a digital seal of approval, making sure the information is legit and nobody's messed with it. So when you really step back and look at the whole thing, it's pretty clear that DNS is one of the internet's true unsung heroes. It's this piece of invisible magic that we all depend on every single day, probably without even realizing it. One of the sources I read put it perfectly. It said, DNS is one of the core pillars of the internet. It's simple in concept, but powerful in action, working silently to take you to the right place. And it's that elegant simplicity that lets it handle billions and billions of requests every day without even breaking a sweat. I mean, just imagine for a second if DNS didn't exist. Our online world would be totally unrecognizable. We'd be stuck trying to memorize these long, complicated numbers for every single site and service we use. It's the critical system that truly makes the internet friendly for us humans. So, the next time you type in a web address, just for a second, appreciate that incredible, high-speed journey that's happening behind the scenes. And it leaves you with a final thought, right? What other invisible systems are out there, working silently all around us, just making our modern world possible?